right, 1 to the 2, 2 to the 3, and the place to be. I opened it like that on purpose. That's how I used to open the King of the Mountain podcast years ago. And I remember I got a comment on YouTube just like, it's so cringeworthy every time BQ opens the show like that. He sounds so white. I'm like, I'm not trying to sound, I wasn't trying to sound hood or anything like that. Like, you know, the same time though, I was very enriched in the hip hop community in the 90s. And that's just a representation of that to me. So
Spooky.
Sorry to offend everyone. Spooky had to make an appearance. I'm gonna kill this cat.
We can start like this. Let me tell you something, BQ, brother.
Yeah. Man, but this is the Cool Factor podcast. I am BQ. He is TW. We're gonna talk about this recent episode of Impact Wrestling. If you're watching on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, because this is the #1 place to be for the Impact Wrestling fan. If you're a first timer here, well, my cat is running around like crazy. He just pushed the door open. Anyway, Impact Wrestling this past week. We're going to do something a little different this episode. I know that typically we try not to go segment by segment, match through match, and try to hit on the key points of the show. But this particular episode, I think, deserves a little more in depth from top to bottom, because I don't want to say a lot happened, but a lot kind of happened at the same time. There's just a lot I felt to talk about. I really enjoy the episode. I've been saying that I've been bored lately, and I wasn't bored with this one. So you were saying before we started the show that how fresh the show was, how fresh it felt.
Right. And listen, I think that they being Impact Management, I think they've heard the feedback that everyone is giving, which is that you got to get this show in front of people, because and there's the reason why is because having wrestling in front of fans just gives energy to the show. The show has felt kind of dead without being in front of people. And so their response to that, smartly, in my opinion, was to say, hey, we're not going to put the show in front of fans yet. Like, not only is it cost prohibitive for us to go anywhere and tape right now, but the virus is coming back. Yay! So they're not going to put this show in front of fans. So instead, they flooded almost the show with fresh faces, and that breathes new life into the show. It gives you something to talk about. It's, who's this person, or I saw this person there, or what's this person going to do? This person has a buzz. And I was like, man, this is so dope. I see this all the time on like AEW, right? Like AEW adds fresh faces so much. And in my opinion, a lot of it is to their detriment, because they end up putting a lot of people on TV who are not ready for TV. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. For so many years, people would act like Impact was some minor league. But I'm like, yo, these guys are wrestling in front of fans on TV around the world. Like, this is, like you're doing TV wrestling. If anything, pulling people off the indies and throwing them into a ring on worldwide television, that's way more dangerous than adding somebody from, a show like Impact. So I thought Impact did a great job by adding, this week. Last week I made fun of, the silly looking cowboy, Joe Doring, showing up with
Joe Doring, not Joe Torre.
What was it?
Joe Doring.
Yeah. And yeah, so I thought, like I said, I thought he was kind of silly looking, but you look up this week and all of a sudden they've got, him, they got Killer Kelly. She was the biggest standout to me. They added Renee Michelle and the Sea Stars. That's 4 new. And they last week Jazz. So that's 6 new faces.
Plus Matt Striker was on commentary.
And Matt Striker on commentary. Like, man, and that gives a breath of fresh air to the show. It really, really does. Because you want to see how these people are going to be used. You want to see how they're going to perform in the ring, what they add to the show, how they interact with the people who are already there. And so, listen, it's a great, great thing. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it really made the show feel fresh.
Yeah, it really did. The episode was super fresh. I've been saying that lately. I've kind of been bored watching, but with this episode, I just wasn't bored. Like, it was actually over before I knew it. And that hasn't happened to me in a while. watching this show. So it was just new, fresh faces, fresh voices. It was just a lot of fun. And we're going to get into this a little bit more when we get into everything. But we've been saying you have to put your own spin on empty arena wrestling. I've said that if you look up empty arena wrestling in the dictionary, the definition is what Impact does. Like there's no creativity to it whatsoever. You know, I was saying it was just dry and depressing, but they did something this episode. We're going to get into a little bit more. They experimented with, or like as you were wording it, like, oh wait, hey, we're not doing a live show. We can throw in edits and we can, you know, get creative with the camera work, the camera tricks. And they did that. And it that was the first thing I thought. I was like, damn, like they finally put some kind of spin on it. They were like, whoa, we can do some Lucha Underground shit if we want to.
Yeah.
So I was, you know, very happy with that. I didn't feel like it got off to a good start with this segment with in the hospital where Scott D'Amore wore his headset to the hospital. You know, there were just so many holes in this to me. Like, I don't know if it was like supposed to be like really bad on purpose.
Right. You know? You just hate Scott D'Amore. So
yeah, right when it said that,
he's on like, your screen, you're gonna shit on whatever.
Here we go. Absolutely. Yeah, he's been a part of a couple good segments, but for the most part, no. But the first thing I was like, the holes in this segment. You got the, you know, I love you, Ross, but the doctor comes out. He used to be a physical therapist, and then he was the
that guy for everything.
The ringside doctor, and now he's making life or death decisions. Basically, you could say he's a surgeon, ER doctor. I don't know, like.
But that was funny though. How as soon as he talked to Scott D'Amore, the first thing he said was pull the plug.
Dude, that was funny. That yeah, hilarious. I have to, yeah, I can't knock that at all. That was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, dude, that was some funny stuff. But I felt like the show was off to a bad start when it did that. I was like, oh man, they're really starting it off with this. But you put that aside, and that there was that funny moment. We get into the action. All of a sudden, we hear, to everyone's surprise, we hear Matt Stryker's voice. And I've been saying this for a long time. You have to freshen up the commentary because you're going to completely block it out. And damn, it felt fresh, dude. And here's my favorite part about the commentary. See if you agree. I felt that Josh Josh stepped his game up to work with Stryker.
Right.
And I've said this before, like Josh is not bad at what he does. I've never said he's bad. Have I said, oh, he's doing his worst work currently, or I don't like what he's doing right now? Like, yeah, I do that all the time. But I've never been like, yo, this guy doesn't know what he doesn't know how to call match. Like he does.
Yeah.
It's just that he got into this. I thought he was okay. I thought he was really good with the Pope. I mean, I know I criticized a little bit back then, but looking back, he was pretty good. I didn't really like the pairing with I always forget his name, Sanjay. I didn't really care for that. And then Don came, and I feel like Josh switched his style up a little bit. I think that Don was like, hey, I'm experienced. Do this. And I didn't like it. I've never liked it. And then with Madison, some people like it. Some people hate it. I think she's really good. So I just don't like his role in that. Like, to where he's like trying to get her to be funny, which I'm like, dude, she's funny on her own. Like she'll feed off you. Just focus on the action. Yeah. But it was a little silly. Bound for Glory was really bad commentary wise, but this was like a Stryker brought an element that the show had been missing, and Josh felt like, oh my God, I can't crack these crappy ass jokes because then I'm going to sound like an amateur next to him. So he stepped his game up, and the two of them together just sounded really good. So what do you think of the commentary?
Yeah, so normally I don't notice the commentary at all, but I did notice that Matt Stryker definitely it was a better back and forth. And I think what you were saying makes total sense. When all those people who you mentioned that Josh Matthews works well with are people that worked in WWE. So they had a chance to get used to that WWE style of calling. And part of it is calling big moves and that type of thing. But Matt Stryker, he's good because he actually knows the moves, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can actually describe what's happening in the ring. And I think that kind of leads Josh Matthews is probably better as a color man than a play-by-play.
I'd say
Matt Stryker is good at play-by-play. And again, like I said last week, being good at play-by-play is an art. It really is. It's a specific skill set, to be able to keep up with the action, describe it vividly in a way that doesn't leave your audience bored or make them tune out. And yeah, he's good at that. So that is noticeable. Again, normally I'm not checking for the commentary, but when it's noticeably better, you notice,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely noticed that Matt Stryker was on commentary, and it made the show feel better.
There was a comment that I'm totally paraphrasing, but he said something like, "Wow, you're going back to." Matt Stryker said something like, "Oh, Josh is going back to calling moves, brings joy to my or tear to my eye or something, joy to my heart." He said something along those lines. I'm totally paraphrasing, and it's like he even knew it, and he knows what the complaints are.
See, I think part of that is because, like you mentioned, when he's with Madison, like you don't like the style, but it is a little bit different. And I think that's because, so think of like the dynamics, right? Like we mentioned, if he's working with Matt Stryker or with the Pope, somebody like that, he's working with somebody who knows what he knows that they know what he knows. So he knows that they can approach the show the same way. Right. And when he's working with a Sanjay or a Madison, he's feeling like he has to lead them through. Right. And so rather than just performing, he's probably much more so trying to make sure that the ship gets where it's going. Right. And so he probably feels like he has to, have more banter or whatever. When he was working with Don, that's his boss. So, right.
Yeah.
So it's like, and so, neither one of us know Don Callis, but he sure seems like someone who doesn't like to be told what to do, or like if he gives you instructions on something, that's the way he wants it done. Not so much, you know what I mean? So if he says, "Hey, here's how we should go when it comes to commentary," then you just follow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just follow. So to me, that kind of explains those dynamics a little bit. It is what it is. It is what it is. And that's one of the things about WWE, probably the thing about WWE, as much as people want Vince to retire or go away. Like, listen, having one person in charge of everything, somewhere where the buck stops, it makes a difference. I talked before about how, some of the people, it always annoyed me how people show up on Impact in physical shape that they would never show up on WWE in. That's because it's not a corporate entity so much. It's not like some vague corporation talking about, it's one person. You know what I mean? You know what that person expects, and you have to adhere to what that person wants, their expectations, if you want to be on his television show. You know what I mean? And so that helps their product a lot. One vision. You know what I mean? Like even, a sports reference. I remember when the Patriots had the whole the Deflategate thing.
Deflategate.
And there was one day when they were having a press conference, and Robert Kraft, the team owner, came out and spoke. Bill Belichick came out and spoke, and Tom Brady came out and spoke, and they all said the same thing. Robert Kraft spoke, and then every question they asked Bill Belichick, he said, Robert Kraft already addressed that. Same thing. When every question they asked Tom Brady, coach already addressed that. I'm not going to talk about that. That's one voice. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, this is why this team has been successful for 20 years. It's organization. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the same way that resorts to that relates to WWE. People might think Vince is, a jerk, a hole, whatever, but he rules with an iron fist. Yes, an iron fist. He reached over with his iron fist.
Yeah.
He rules with his iron fist, and everyone follows things the way he wants it done. And I think Impact just they have to establish that type of thing. You know what I mean? They have to establish an order. They have to establish a culture for doing things, right? So that way, no matter who Josh Matthews was working with, he would be doing it the same way. My guess is people say, hey, Josh Matthews has been doing this for a long time. Let him go out there and lead. And so if he's leading, he's going to work differently with everyone who he's working with. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not like the boss, right? The boss is worried about having the overall presentation reach certain standards. He's just doing his job. So his job is to make sure commentary sounds good. And so that dynamic is different no matter who you're working with. Now, if you got the Iron Fish, then they're making sure everything sounds the way they want it, not, you know what I mean? Not what you think is best, what I think is best, right? And so that was a really long way around the block just to say, I think that, because it's Josh Matthews doing his own thing. So he's adapting to whoever he's working with.
Right.
And that's why it sounds different when he's with different people.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. In the past, and we'll move on here, he started doing this with Don, where he started asking these like questions throughout the match, like would you say Taya Valkyrie has the most blondest hair in the knockouts division? Like, and it's almost like he was doing that to fill up space.
Right.
And he does it to Madison too. And even Madison's called him like, stop. She even said, Josh, call the action instead of asking so many stupid questions. But he didn't do that not a single time that I picked up on this episode, because Stryker was feeling the so laser focused on the action and giving so much information that Josh didn't feel the need to, I gotta carry this thing. Like, it was just a, really good team effort. So enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Let's move on from the commentary thing though. We're going to talk the knockouts. We talked about this just being a fresh episode. And as I said, we're going to kind of go up and down these matches, because there was a lot that deserved to be spoken on. The last point I want to say about the commentary, like the match, the episode did have a lot of comedy and fuckery and, BS finishes, but the commentary was so just focused on the action that it allows humor and bad humor and comedy to happen around it. When there's bad comedy in the commentary as well, and then in the segments, the show just feels like a joke. But when they're focused on the action, you can get away with these comedic segments around, on the outside, if the core is tight with the commentary. So, but the Knockouts tag team match, this was we got to see the Sea Stars, and they took on Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. I don't think anyone expected the Sea Stars to win this thing. I mean, people think that Tasha and Kiera might win this thing. Right. So no one expected them to win this match. But this is our first time seeing them. I've never seen them compete as a team. I've seen, I think they're the Shimmer tag team champions, but I've seen Ashley Vox on NWA. She didn't do much for me on NWA. I thought that she was Allison Kay swears by Ashley Vox. She was really happy to have her aboard in NWA, and I didn't see anything there that screams star to me at all. But when she came out with the Sea Stars and they're reeling in the fish, and just there was a level of energy to her and presence that I never saw in NWA. Like, just completely dry. And then here, like, she had so much more personality. Same with Tasha Steelz. I told you this before. Like, she was a baby in NWA, and she was just, she was
nothing special, right?
Nothing special at all.
Right.
And then she comes here and has the most amazing chemistry you could imagine in a female tag team. So I don't know what I thought of the match necessarily. It was okay, but Stryker added a lot of background on these stars that we didn't know. So tell me about the Sea Stars, and he's able, this and this, and stuff that would not have happened if it was Josh and Don or Josh and
Right.
Madison. We wouldn't have got these backstories. And, that's important to the story of the match, and for us to care about the match and to say, it's almost like differentiating them between being jobbers and not being jobbers. Like if we don't know anything about them, they're just enhancement talent.
Yep.
So.
Exactly. They don't bother to tell you anything about the enhancement talent, but exactly. They talk about, who these people are. It made them feel, and my guess is that, these fresh faces that we talked about are only going to be here for these tapings. But to me, that's still good. That's still good enough. I think if you bring in, 4 or 5 people who don't normally work there and just use them in, I don't want to say squash matches, but just they can be competitive matches. Like, again, a perfect example is, the other fresh face, the people that wrestled the Kimberly, right? That Killer Kelly, like she shined in that match. You know what I mean? Like I came out of that saying, I want to see more of her.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what you want. That's what you want. You get, you make both people shine. And by the way, it makes your talent, your contract talent look better when they beat somebody who looks good, as opposed to, who was the guys the EC3 was beating up? It was like Norv Furnham and whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I think it's just, it makes everything better. You know what I mean? It makes the match look more interesting. It makes your talent look more credible.
And they were doing that for a while with like the Windsor tapings, bringing in Aiden Prince, El Reverso, these guys, and they were doing that for a while. And, blame it on the pandemic. That's perfectly fine. But at least, for some tapings, we were getting fresh guys, Alexia Nicole, who I thought should have been assigned as a knockout, neither here nor there. But at least we were getting like very fresh faces. Right. And I just, it was nice. It would be nicer if they actually signed some of these people sometimes. And I think that's where there's a hiccup. Like,
who I would have loved to see more of? The guy that goes, did someone say adventure?
Oh God.
Oh yeah, I like that dude. It's like some of the stuff when you see it, it's like, yo, this should be on TV.
Right. Yeah, like there's, especially with all the comedy they do now, there's definitely a place for that. But if they were to do that and bring more people on, like I want to see them actually scout some of these people sometimes and not just use them. I mean, maybe they are scouting them, but it's like when you're watching Dark, a lot of these guys are jobbers week in, week out, like Will Hobbs is an example. And then all of a sudden they're like, yo, this guy's really good. And now he's part of the roster and has all this momentum where he's not jobbing anymore. And it's just like, I like to see him bring some people on sometimes. Like, I mean, Fuego del Sol, he's been on Dark recently. Like he did the Impact Plus taping and everyone was like, whoa, like bring this guy on board. And then we never saw him again, and that doesn't mean we don't know that they didn't talk backstage, but, and I've said this about the Knockouts tag team picture since I've been pitching these titles coming back for years now. I've always said, the first thing people say is there's not enough knockouts. I'm like, you can always bring in girls on.
Exactly.
Always. You can defend them every single Impact Plus show against a local women's tag team every time.
You did say that, and I thought that was actually a great idea. It's just a way to, like a little wrestling history here. The big reason why there's so many belts in wrestling, like that's a tradition that started because when these wrestling companies were touring, going different towns, they needed an attraction. So if your world champion was Ric Flair and he's across the country defending the title in a whole nother territory, then you needed something to say, you need something to be at stake. So for your local thing, you have your US championship. You know what I mean? So now, Ric Flair is the world champion, but he's off in Minnesota. But right here tonight in Raleigh, you got your United States champion, Dusty Rhodes. And that's why they started creating all of these belts. And so that same point here, right? It's like you're creating stakes, right? Like you're creating a reason to make the matches matter. And so, yeah, I mean, like that's that's why you do it.
So we'll just transition into the other knockouts match that we had tonight, since we're on the topic. But the Sea Stars for me were okay. I I mean, they were good, but they don't scream like, oh, we got to keep them around.
Right.
But I will say Ashley Vox looked 100% better than in NWA. Just much more personality and character. So the other match, we'll just get right into this, was Killer Kelly versus Kimberly. So Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle. Now they look like stars, like both of them in their own right for different reasons. Like they have a presence about them. And same thing with you with Killer Kelly. Like I wanted to see more. I would have liked to see her get a little more offense and everything in this match, but I thought they could have showcased her a little bit better. But I was really into this one, and I think this. We'll talk about the Su Yung stuff in a second. But by Kimberly winning this match, this tells me that Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle are probably going to win next week, because these two don't have a reason to. Deanna's already the Knockouts champion, and she has this one-on-one feud going on that they brought Father James Mitchell into. So maybe they're going to sell the soul of Kimberly, and she's going to get semi-repackaged. Like there's things that they can do. They don't need this tournament. So, I think it's pretty safe to say that I don't want to say it's safe to say. I think they're going to lose next week. Kimberly never wins. I think she always looks good in defeat, but she got a very rare win here. She's not going to win 2 weeks in a row. So, and these girls aren't going to lose.
Sammy Callahan of the Knockouts.
yeah, exactly. And these gals aren't going to lose 2 weeks in a row. So, but yeah, any thoughts on the match itself, Kimberly, Killer Kelly? Like you said, you want to see more of Killer Kelly.
Yeah.
I thought both of them looked like freaking stars.
Similar to what you said. I was very intrigued on having the way they had Renee Michelle kind of as like the manager, and I thought that was interesting to see a female talent with a female manager. I thought it was a nice combo. Right? I thought it was like really interesting. I thought it was something that you don't normally see, and I thought it was actually really dope. So that was cool. And yeah, and again, like Killer Kelly, like there's a certain quality, you just know it when you see it, man. You just know it when you see it. I'm not trying to say she's like got the most charisma like a Tessa Blanchard or something like that, but I think that like she pops off the screen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Her performance pops off the screen. Her facials, certain little things she does. There was a nice move. She kind of set up like it was a big move where she did like the cartwheel and it's like the head scissors with the face plant, and that could have been a little cleaner. But to me, this is pro wrestling. It's all about make me care about the character. Make me watch you and just care. You know what I mean? Are you good? Are you bad? Are you hot? Are you cold? Whatever. And she had that. You know what I mean? She grabbed me. With her facials and and yeah. So I'm interested to see what else she's got. And then too, I also like you introduce this character. She's interesting and she lost. So we don't have to worry about any type of like win streak. Is she undefeated? Is she coming in beating everybody right away? Like, no, but we've seen her. She lost and she came out looking good. To me, that's a win-win. So that was and then as far as like Kimberly goes, she's fine. She's fine.
I know. I enjoy her matches, dude. I just have since she's come on, and I love her music too. So I'm a big music guy. With some of it's like when Willie Mack or Fallah Bahh come out and they both have horrible music. I just like it makes me not want to watch some wrestling. Like I love the presentation of a good theme song and everything. But Killer Kelly like stands out. She just has a look that you can't just go, okay, let's see who, let's sign it. Like she has a look you hold on to. And they took professional photos this set of taping, so that's why it kind of tells me like they actually got a match graphic, which the Sea Stars didn't. So this kind of tells me, okay, I think they might be around for a little bit, at least into the next round. But the match was pretty short. The talking point on this was my favorite part of the show, and it was the Su Yung Susie thing that they did. And I talked about this at the top of the show. Putting their own spin on empty arena wrestling and saying, oh shit, we can do some cool editing. And we saw it twice in this episode. And I think that there's more that they could do going forward. And I hope that they do. But this was cool, man. I think we both kind of watched it several times.
Yeah.
So the first time I watched it, I was like, whoa, this girl looks exactly like Sue.
Right.
And then I used common sense because Susie turned around. I'm like, no, they must, then I watched it back a couple times. I was like, man, this was really cool. I messaged someone at Impact and said, hey, this segment was great. And they said, we were really, really happy with it. Gave us chills, like how good it came off. So, yeah, give me your thoughts on that, man, because it was just my favorite part of the show.
I thought it was really well done. And like similarly to what you said, I was like, man, wow, it seems like they finally realized, hey, this isn't live. We can do some stuff, right? We can yell cut and then do something that we don't have to, like, again, we're all, I'm sure this is an older fan group, everybody understands. They use tricks in wrestling, in live performances. They use tricks to do things, to create illusions, and then sometimes the illusions are created by actually hurting yourself, like hiding the razor blade on your tongue and slipping it out and blading yourself, right? And so clearly during this episode they realized, like, hey, we can just yell cut. We can just yell cut, and then we come back and do some stuff. And I thought it was so well done. Like you said, when I first saw it, I was like, how did they get somebody that looks just like? Oh my God, that's crazy. Because as she was coming down to the ring, I was like, is the fake Su Yung gonna wrestle? Like, what? Yeah. And then I'm like, no, wait a minute. And I had to just go back and look at the segment a couple of times. And I was like, okay, they did a cut right here. But I thought it was dope, man. I thought it was dope. And again, you got to take advantage of that type of stuff, man. Take advantage of that type of stuff, because it just, at the end of the day, it creates conversation. Right? Like, if we're sitting here talking about it, if we both notice that, then everybody, the 150,000 people who watched the show this week are probably mostly all talking about it, and they'll get online and talk about it. You know what I mean? And that's how you create buzz. So I thought that was actually really dope.
They can really do. People were very indifferent about the Undead Realm stuff. I thought it was fine. It was just that at the time, no one really cared that much about Su Yung and Havoc, and so I kind of get it, but and it was kind of watered down from what it was, but they could do a very interesting Undead Realm tag team match here. They could pull off Su Yung and Susie versus Kimberly, and
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
you have just like a stunt double, you know what I mean?
Right,
in there,
right.
You can do some really, really tight editing.
Yeah,
and it could be unlike anything. I mean, we talk about do something different and other people aren't doing. Like, this could be unlike anything we've ever seen in wrestling,
That's true.
It's like, you think, years ago they did Undertaker versus Undertaker, but it was live and it was clear that they looked different, it's impossible to pull this kind of thing off, but given the circumstances and that they have experience with this, like, I hope they pull the trigger on it, because if they were to do it at Hard to Kill, I think it would be really one of the coolest things. They just did the EC3 and Moose thing, so obviously they're still kind of interested in the cinematic stuff, but this would be.
It makes sense. It's a new day. Yes, it is, in terms of like, just the stuff that's more commonplace on wrestling TV, and it's like, why not? Why not do that? You know what I mean? You can do so much more stuff, and the challenge is to come away from the cinematic match with a match that people are raving about.
Yeah.
Like, people rave. When they did WrestleMania and they did the Undertaker AJ Styles match, and it was a cinematic match, and everybody was like raving about it, I was like, because I was like, yo, man, like, y'all not gonna sit here and act like they did, like, Impact hasn't done 5 of these matches before.
Right.
And like, and Impact did so many of them so well, like the Great War, and Eat or Delete or whatever. There was so many that they did, and a lot of them were really good. The one they did where it was who was it? I think it was Josh Matthews and Joseph Park. No, it was.
Oh, yeah. It was Steiner
and Josh Matthews versus Joseph Park and who else?
Jeremy Borash.
Yes. Yo, that was so good.
Yeah, that was fun.
So good. And yeah, so I mean, like you can do these things and they can be a lot of fun. And I think you should do them. You know what I mean? Like you have, again, like you don't have to worry about what is my audience going to be doing while I'm playing the cinematic match. Like, no, go ahead and do it. So it's a great tool. They should use it. And they should, by the way, they should own it. You know what I mean? Put their arms around it. Like, you know, we started this. So, you know, let's make it a staple of our programming.
And it's a match like that would definitely be like 12, 14 hours of taping. I mean, it would be, you know, it would definitely be an all day thing. I hope that they do it. I feel like they're going to. I don't feel like this is like me fantasy booking. Like, I really think this is where it's going. I mean, I hope they're up to that challenge. That would be awesome. So let's move on to something. Let's get into some of the comedy. We got a conclusion of the Who Shot Johnny Bravo. This was a segment that I can't say I found a single person, not this segment, this in particular, but this storyline. I don't think I saw a single person on social media that was enjoying this, the Who Shot. And I understand it was an extension of Wrestle House and it was continuity, and those are all good things. But people didn't seem to enjoy this. But I thought this Wrestler's Court, dude, the Wrestler's Court is always funny. Yeah. They've done a few of them, and they're very different circumstances, but these are funny. Swinger's someone I've criticized a lot in the past, but I'm starting to enjoy him now because they use him a little more sparingly, where before he was like every other segment, and it was just driving.
Tommy Rich told me where the neck brace, get the sympathy gimmick.
Hilarious. Madison Rayne was funny in this. Like, she was dude, Madison's acting is pretty good. Her heel acting, like when she's like babyface, like but when she's a heel, like that acting is spot on. Very believable, very good, very witty, very funny. Facial expressions, all that. So she did a really good job with her role. It was funny. Like, I have a hard time seeing Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary sitting there, and Triple XL. These people, we're supposed to take them serious, but we see them in these like comedy segments. It's a little hard, you know. But I thought, I mean, did you enjoy it? Did you think these were funny? Because I know we didn't really like the Who Shot Bravo stuff, but the Wrestler's Court,
I missed most of the ones where he was where Tommy Dreamer was like interviewing people last week. Like I didn't really stop to watch a lot of those because it just wasn't interesting to me. But the Wrestler's Court I thought was hilarious. I really think that stuff is funny. Like with the DeLorean Brown, and there's just so much good funny stuff they put in there. You know, the revelation that Rosemary just wanted Johnny Bravo for his virgin blood. Yeah, I thought that was really funny. And that was so funny. Like when he just busted, he's like, "You bitch!" Yeah. Like I thought that was really funny, man. That was good, man. Like, so I'm here for that, man. Like, again, you know, this is pro wrestling, so it's not like, you know, I think a pro wrestling show where you try to present it like this is all, you know, like the Olympics or some shit. Like, to me, that misses the point. You know, like, you know, somebody was talking about this. I think it was on Eric Bischoff's podcast. He was saying how, like, you know, Dusty Rhodes would always say that pro wrestling is kind of like the circus, right? Like, it's got to be something for everybody. You know what I mean? You know, all these different things. And so, yeah, so I like having the different things on there. You know what I mean? So stuff like this, like I'm a big fan of. And it gives the wrestlers a chance to show their personality. You know, guys who aren't getting used in more serious ways can get, you know, they can get used and stuff like this. It gives them a way to, you know, contribute to the show. And so I like it, man. I like it. There's so many reasons. I'm a big fan of it.
So we get a conclusion, and it's Larry D. It made sense too. Like I couldn't have guessed who it was. I really didn't know. But this made sense if you go back to all the Wrestle House storylines and everything. But here is my problem. This is my one issue with this, and I'm going to rewind here a little bit. I was reading a quote of Chris Jericho's today. Not a quote, but an interview. Something he said, and I nitpick the show a lot, but we've talked about this, that presentation and editing and things like that, little details do matter when you're putting on a television show. Like there's certain little things that matter. So Jericho had said he was really upset that they played his angle of or they had the angle of, is MJF going to join the Inner Circle? And then the segment was over, and the next segment was, is Will Hobbs going to join Team Taz? Like, they did back-to-back segments with the same storyline, and Jericho was saying that he was furious. Like, how do you not catch these details? Like, those little things do matter. So this is the one issue I have, is that Larry D, it's him. And then very soon after, you've got the Motor City Machine Guns cutting a serious promo on Triple XL, calling them Triple X, by the way. Right. Serious. And then next week they're going to wrestle, and we're supposed to take Triple XL seriously.
Right.
So that's an issue I did have that like really stood out to me. Like, okay, Lawrence D was just on our screen, and now we have to pretend that didn't happen and go back to Triple XL, the team that says they're the number one contenders, and they attacked, Alex Shelley that one time, and now they're going to have a grudge match next week. You know what I mean? Right. So that was kind of my little issue with it. But what I did like was that, the Motor City Machine Guns kind of laid out this like 3-step plan where it's like, first we're taking out Triple XL, then it's the North, and that's then the Good Brother. Like, that's how this shit is supposed to be, man. Like, this tag team division is, let's just everyone wrestle each other at the same time and no stories. At least now this makes sense. This is what wrestling's supposed to be like. Work your way up to that title match, but have some good matches and meaningful feuds with other people. I
think even like with the tag division, just like they did we just talked about with the knockouts, bringing them in, listen, do that for your male talents, like, instead of having everybody take turns beating the Rascals, and then one day we're supposed to care about the Rascals when they get a title shot, like, just bring in 4 guys, right? Bring in four talents, and have the Dieners beat them one show, have Triple XL beat them another show, have, another team beat them another show, and then have just and then just rotate them so that guys can build up some equity with the audience, so we can know that these guys are winners. And we're not getting that, right? They're just kind of throwing them in matches that are supposed to matter, and they don't matter because you haven't made us care about the people involved.
Yeah, I remember growing up, and there were, obviously wrestling back in the 80s, 90s was a lot of enhancement talent matches, and then they got away from them. But I remember growing up as a kid thinking, I didn't know who was a jobber and who wasn't, because on TV, I saw them win all the time. So I didn't know that Skinner was a jobber because he was beating a bunch of, dudes' asses week to week. It wasn't until he wrestled the Hitman or something where I'm like, oh my God, this dude clearly is not on the radar for anything big, because he just got his butt kicked in 4 minutes, so, but at least it was like in my head.
Again, but to me, that's how it's supposed to work, right? Like, you thought Skinner was tough and he could beat somebody, but he was just there to be fed to the Hitman. But you thought he could put the Hitman in danger because you saw him beat other people, right? Like, so again, I say it like all the time. It's like, yo, you got like your Jesse Goddard's and your Robbie E's here. It's like, yo, instead of just having them be the enhancement talent, feed them some enhancement talent so we can care about them. And yes, they'll still lose whenever they fight anybody good, but make us care about them. Then we care more about the big match. It's a simple formula. It really is. Now it costs money to do, I'm sure, man, but still, you can do it because they're doing it now.
Speaking of Johnny Swinger and the tag team division, next week is Johnny Swinger this is a rematch now. Johnny Swinger versus Cody Diener. We called this. This is the second time that Eric Young has taken out the Dieners, and they have not retaliated. They have not tried to seek out a measure of revenge. They haven't wanted a match with him, a tag team match with Joe Doring and Eric Young. But we're going to get the Johnny Swinger rematch to avenge that loss. That hurts the Diener so much, in my opinion, man. Like, these are 2 guys I like and I think are talented, but they don't care about anything other than the comedy match. Like they've been involved in so much comedy lately. Like it's tough to. They're a little tough to take serious right now. Like I hope they improve that when it comes to them.
But yeah, listen, that's the fault of the people who are writing the show. People keep writing them into these comedy spots. And listen, just as easily as you made us look at them as a joke, you can make us look at them as serious. You just got to take the time to do it. So it can be flipped. The switch can be flipped at any moment. You just got to look at Rohit, right? Look at Rohit. Like I did a rant talking about how dare you expect us to take Rohit seriously after all this time, just being a scrub. And then, you turn around and now look, he's the reigning X Division champion, right? He's probably held that belt longer than anybody this year. So yeah, you know what I mean? Like you just got to take the time to reverse it. You can flip anything. It's TV. You just got to be, intentional about what you're trying to show us and then show it to us repeatedly. You know what I mean? Ping,
yeah.
pow, pow.
I mean, they got that Bound for Glory win against the Rascals, capitalize on that, but no. Right. Let's transition. We're going to talk about Rohit here in a little bit, but since we're talking tag teams, we'll kind of go into this thing with the North. I think it's very clear that they are preparing for Ethan Page to leave, so that maybe he doesn't leave. That's not what I'm saying. But how many, whether you're Tessa Blanchard, you're Matt Hardy, you're Eric Young the first time, Bobby Roode, we can just really go on and on with these guys that they're writing up television up to, and all of a sudden they're gone, and they got to come with some BS way to write them off. I remember they said Maria Kanellis had a nervous breakdown, so she didn't return to TNA. So they're clearly preparing for what could happen. So I think that's good. It scares me because that's not a guy you want to let go. But but it's good that they're doing this. We called this last week. We said the phenomenal wrestler was going to be Swoggle dressed up like AJ. And sure enough, it was. And this man, I hated everything about this, man. I really did. Ethan Page losing. I knew he was going to lose. I knew he was. Absolutely. Every time that, whenever they put Swoggle in a match where it's like we're kind of taking him serious, like when he took on Brian Myers, where it was right. Like they weren't treating it as some underdog match, he loses. But when it's like this match where he's the clear underdog, he always seems to win.
Right.
So, and then just, man, this thing with AJ is like talking about your ex-girlfriend, dude, that forgot all about you, that's moved on, is married, and you're still, oh man, well, my high school, you're in your 50s and you're just still, oh, my high school girlfriend, man, she was a looker, man, it's like very cringeworthy to me. This segment got a lot of YouTube views, so it tells me that, and I've said this before, not all the YouTube views should be treated equal. But because of the amount of views, like we're going to get more of the Weenomenal one. I promise. I know it. It wasn't funny to me. I don't have an issue with Swoggle. I don't. Like when he took on Brian Myers, like that's fine. Like use him in that way. But when you start
to me, the cringe was not about Swoggle. The cringe was about the bait of AJ. Right. And the, dependence on the name of AJ Styles, which, listen, you made AJ Styles. So I get that. Right. Like people should never forget where he got his feet wet, and I respect that. But I said this last week, like it makes you look small time when you're out here relying on this tease of, is a WWE or AEW guy going to show up? You know what I mean? Like it just makes you look small time. Like you don't have your own thing. You don't have your own reasons people should watch this show or this match. And so, that's just how that came off to me. Like, the Weenomenal one, like, oh God, whatever. Not a fan.
No, I didn't like this. But what I hate is that we're going to get more of it.
But away from the Weenomenal one, kind of what you were starting to talk about, it does look like they're building to a split for the North. And I kind of see that playing out as Josh Alexander getting tired of Ethan Page, messing up, and then he viciously attacks him. And I think that could work out one of two ways. on one hand, it could be okay. Hey, we're just gonna have Josh Alexander, attack Ethan Page, and then that, Josh Alexander's off to a singles run, which I think has a lot of potential. And the other way it could work is, let's say you get something done with Ethan Page, you still do the split, and now you got the North at war. You know what I mean? And I think that could be dope too, because I'd like to see Ethan Page further develop as like a top level talent. Because I think, he's the type of guy, you give him the microphone and you set him up a big match, let him go home and make his own promos for it. And I think he could be onto something really, really dope here. So, I would love to see that. I'd love to see the North split and see, Ethan Page and Josh Alexander now be at each other's throats and, and see where that goes.
Yeah, definitely. They would be their own kind of own unique style of single star. Like Josh Alexander, I almost said Josh Matthews, would be like this badass ass kicker, like could hold the world title for a while. Who
Kurt
could
Angle.
beat him? Yeah. And then very intense wrestler. And then you got Ethan Page, like where he could just do some really creative things. He could switch it up between being funny and serious. And I've always said there's a difference between someone who is genuinely funny than someone who's trying to be funny. So he can get away because he's funny. So he can get away with doing that stuff. I enjoy everything they do. I hate their theme song, but besides that, the North is cool, but it's definitely at this point kind of run its course. And that's the problem when you have a small company and someone holds a title for a year. They become pretty you start trending into that real stale category. Like I felt that with LAX, and that's why I thought Taya Valkyrie was gonna bounce, because I'm like, dude, she had that title forever. What the hell is she gonna do? Like,
right.
But she's I'm sure she's not around after this year. She's been around so long, and surely she wants to try her hand in something different.
As well, she should. She's a big time talent.
Yeah, she would be a big loss.
She's a really big time talent. And I think, not to be crude, but listen, the fact that, she's a pretty woman, she's blonde, she's got big breasts. Vince can use her, right? Like he has a type that he likes. Okay. He has a type that he likes. She's not a twig, but she's like fit. You know what I mean? She's like, she's like an athlete, you know what I mean? And I think that she's not like an athlete. She is an athlete. She's an athlete. She's got a different frame than like your Charlotte Flair, or so she's closer to like a Rhea Ripley. Do you know who Rhea Ripley is?
Yeah.
She's closer to like a Rhea Ripley. And yeah, but she's dope, but she can really, 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 really wrestle. And you see all the elements of like the character work she can do. Like she's dope. She deserves a big stage. She's really, really dope. And I hope she gets there before Tessa.
Yeah. And she probably will. So let's talk Rohit Raju next. He had, the Beat Rohit challenge, which he has by far lost more than he's won. It's not even a comparison here. But his mic work and everything he's doing is just really, really good. Like he's just showing what I've always known, because I've known him a little longer and seen what he can do a little longer. Like Lewis says the same thing, like we've known what he can do, and he's finally starting to show it. And I like that they swerved this a little bit. They took a very common sense thing where we're like, oh, well, TJP is clearly going to be Suicide. They took that and they swerved it. So really good on them for that. But it was clear watching the match that it wasn't TJP. And then Matt Stryker, I really liked the way he was just like, TJP likes to put moves together and do this and this. That's not the style of wrestling we're seeing, but you know what I mean? So I really like the element that added to the match. And
like he's leading you down the path that this is TJP the whole time.
Right. And no, he was leading down the path that it wasn't him, because he was saying TJP wrestles with this style of wrestling, and that's not what we're seeing with Suicide right now. Like he was, instead
I think he might have switched it up like halfway through the math. But the point is that he kept emphasizing that there's a question of who who's under the mask.
Right. And TJP
And that turned out to be what the whole segment was about.
Right. TJP came through at the end, and it seemed like an eternity till we find out who was under the mask. Because, with commentary, they're supposed to call the match as we see it on TV and not what they see.
Right.
But it seemed like an eternity where Josh like, well, who is it? Who is it? And it was like, it felt like 30 seconds.
I'm like, aren't you sitting right there?
But I really want to know who it was because, like, dude, I don't know. I saw that he didn't have any hair. So it's Crazy Steve. He gets the roll of victory. I'm impressed that Crazy Steve could wrestle. He already can't see very well, but to wrestle with the mask on. He said he's like a real life Daredevil.
I know that. I'm very impressed by that. Because he is legally blind. That's what I think I've heard that from multiple people. He is legally blind.
Yeah.
Crazy. So
he's going to get an X Division title match next week. He's not going to win most likely, so finally Rohit will get a victory. And they're building this thing with TJP, which is good. We know TJP is going to take the title off him at some point.
Right.
It's okay when sometimes wrestling is it's a word I'm looking for. We know what's going to happen. It's predictable. I hate when I can't think of simple words.
Predictable, yeah.
It's predictable, but in this case, we're wondering how we're going to get there. So that's why I'm okay with it. Like, we know he's going to win it. It's not like Tessa Blanchard where you're like, dude, she's just going to win the title. So who gives a shit about all this storyline that we're going up through? You know what I mean? But with this, it's just different because you're wondering how is he going to get there? How's he going to work around this, not being able to challenge again and all that. So cool. And then what I thought was really good was we both like Brian Myers, man. His little segment backstage with them, it was a couple minutes long, but he's so good to me when he talks. I'm real engaged in it, and I just thought the segment was funny because TJP said he cracked some kind of joke to Crazy Steve about vision or seeing something, and I don't remember what it was, but it was funny.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
And I like the Brian Myers segment too, because you give him a little bit of time. And again, he comes in and furthers his character, man. Like this, I'm not saying this is going to be a guy that WWE is going to regret letting go, because if they didn't want to use you. They didn't see it. Again, like, it is what it is. It's like, everybody's it's like you're coaching your own team. This is like a Jim Ross analogy, you know what I mean? But look, like, maybe you're a quarterback who likes to run, and I want my quarterbacks to stay in the pocket. That's just how I run my offense. You know what I mean? It is what it is, man. Like, that doesn't mean that, so many fans like, oh, Vince was right, Vince was wrong. Like, no, man, like, it's his show. You know what I mean? It's his show. He sees his characters in these roles to look this way, to be this way, yada, yada, yada. And yeah, I mean, like, like, again, it is what it is. Like, there's no reason to trip over it. Like, for whatever reason, Vince did not see a main event player in Brian Myers, and I'm starting to see a lot that says you can put this guy in a major storyline. And it is what it is. If I had a show, I'd use Brian Myers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, Vince didn't see it that way. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but he's maximizing his time on Impact for sure.
Yeah. And that's why I think we should get excited about Brian Myers. So if you look at the Good Brothers, we talked about this. They clearly, I shouldn't say clearly, but they most likely wanted to go to AEW. They were supposed to go there. That deal fell through. Like, even though Impact obviously made a very competitive offer and signed them, it most likely wasn't their first option. I have no inside knowledge of that whatsoever.
No.
But let's just be real.
Well, did you saw the podcast they did when they first got released? They basically said as much. They said AEW. The plan was for the first episode to be like the Good Brothers debut episode. They were supposed to, they're supposed to come in. They're supposed to sign, come in, and the first episode was going to end with the Good Brothers doing a run-in angle to beat up whoever and end the show that way as a cliffhanger.
Because I think they were supposed to be in an inner circle instead of Ortiz and Santana.
Maybe. And right, I think that's what it is. And yeah, and the thing is that, you know, as AEW is coming together, you know, the people they're friends with, the Young Bucks and such, were having conversations with the Good Brothers the whole way along, and they were under the impression that the Good Brothers were coming. And then Triple H put the big money contract in front of them at the last minute, and they, you know, basically had to renege on the word they had to their friends. And they said that, you know, this was not like, it was not okay. You know what I mean? They said it was not okay. This wasn't something where everybody was like, oh, it's business. We get it. He said that's not the case. He said it was not okay. You know, I think he kind of intimated that, you know, they'll all be fine down the line. But as of, you know, now, it was not all good. And so all that said to say, yes, AEW would have been their first choice for sure. But
so with all that being said, I get the vibe with Brian Myers and with Heath. That wasn't necessarily the route they wanted to go. Maybe Heath, I don't know. I think Heath had interest in coming to Impact. I think Brian Myers had interest in coming to Impact because they knew, I'm not going to say a big fish in a small pond, but they knew they could get a lot more focus week to week and develop their character the way that they want to develop it. You know, to where if they went there, they'd just be a jag, just another guy, just a guy. Sorry. You know, so that's why I think we should get excited about Heath, about Brian Myers, because I think we're going to see them develop in front of our own eyes in a way that we didn't see before.
Right.
You know, I was worried about Heath at first because, like, oh, they're just going the same WWE storyline and it's comedy, but it's like they're transitioning him along into something more serious. You know, so I'm looking forward. But Brian Myers, I'm really into him right now, along with the people I'm usually into, like Moose and all that. But I'm digging Brian Myers. So let's talk here. Daivari and Falaba had a match. Clearly, so Davari's on the roster page on the website, so I guess he's going to be around for a little bit. I'll be interested to see what he can do. I mean, he looks amazing. He's in incredible shape. But Falaba, you notice they stopped talking about the money after Tasha Steelz took it. But anyway, Falaba and Daivari, they're gonna have a match, and I'm like, oh wow, here's a random match. Clearly, it means nothing. This is the WWE formula where it's like, okay, we're going to have this nothing bullshit match, and someone's going to come down and ruin it. You know,
Scott Hall walks down through the crowd, climbs over the rail in his jean suit, and says, "Hey,
they cared so
to war."
Right. They cared so little about this match that we got like 30 seconds of it. I mean, absolutely nothing. I remember they were having this match years ago. It was like Mark Andrews, I think, might have been Mark Andrews or DJZ, something like that, versus Desmond Xavier. Probably not Mark Andrews. I think he left before that. But it's someone from the X Division versus Desmond Xavier. It was Andrew Everett, actually. Andrew Everett versus Desmond Xavier. And I remember I ran in and I got my son. I was like, yo, you know, because he liked both those guys. And we both sat down, and then 30 seconds later, someone came and ruined it. It was Eddie ruined it. I'm just like, dude, what the hell? Like, I hate when they do that. Because if the match meant something, then they redo it the next week. Yeah. Anyway, so Joe Doring and EY come down, completely ruin the match, make both of them look horrible. Make them look like they mean nothing. Again, they will not look for retribution next week, neither of them, which makes them look very bad. Like if someone were to come and like walk into my house and I'm sitting down having dinner with my family and he comes and like whoops my ass in front of my family, like I'm going to find this dude. Maybe I'll get my ass whooped again, but I'm going to find him. I'm not going to just sit down the next night for dinner and be like, so how was school today? You know, just completely forget anything happened. But I don't know. What do you got? So did you feel any different about Joe Doring here? Like you kind of last week were like, I'm not really feeling this dude.
A little bit. I mean, so I appreciated that he was one of a few fresh faces. That's what I appreciated. I thought his facial expressions were just silly last week when I first saw him, and so that really just took me out of it a little bit. But I mean, nothing about him stands out. You know what I mean? If you've been watching wrestling for as long as I have, you've seen 101 cowboy gimmicks, and so
Yeah.
nothing about a cowboy gimmick especially stands out. So we'll see. We'll see what it is. Has he said anything yet? Has he talked?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So you got a silent cowboy behind Eric Young. I don't, what I mean? I'm giving it a chance. I'm giving it a chance. I'm not gonna shit on it yet. You know what I mean? But I whatever, right?
So this is what I think. I think that they were, because a few weeks ago they were teasing Eric Young, looked like he was aligning himself with Sami Callihan and who else? Oh, Ken Shamrock, and then Chris Bay was in the mix, and you're kind of like, whoa, like, are they doing something here? And people were starting to get excited, and then it just disappeared out of nowhere. What I think was going to happen was that I think Rich Swann was the Rascals were going to be on his side. We don't know because there's so much post editing. Things change during tapings, and they always play out a certain way on TV and then completely change out of nowhere. I guess my gut is, and I have no idea if it's true or not, is that the Rascals were going to be a part of this, and because you can't put factions together very easy on Impact, the roster's not big enough,
right?
Or you can't put together like a random four-man team very easily. If Rich Swann had to go recruit a couple people, I guess you get Willie Mack and Eddie Edwards, but I couldn't even come up with a fourth person off the top of my head. So I think that he was supposed to have the Rascals, and I think they were going to build towards something versus, four of these guys, and it didn't play out that way. Like I think it was going to be Sammy, EY, Chris Bay, and Shamrock. You know what I mean? And because the Rascals decided to leave, I think that things change on the fly. That's just my guess, because it looked like they were going one direction and then it completely changed, and then Joe rings out, and so
I mean, it could be, or it could be one of those things where this is the setup for something else. You know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta let the long-term storylines play out.
Yeah. So maybe it's going somewhere. We don't. Could be going to some kind of lockdown thing eventually. Who knows? And then main event of the evening. They hadn't used this dream match term in a while, and they busted it out again for Rich Swann.
Everything's a dream match.
Yeah, with a roster of like 25 people.
Right.
They have this insane amount of dream matches week to week. So Swann takes on Shamrock. Match is what it was. I enjoy Shamrock more as a heel, way more than as a baby face. I mean,
agree.
It's just easier to watch. I didn't like a single one of his babyface matches, not one.
Right.
And this has been a lot better. I enjoy him in this role a lot more. Again, I said this weeks ago. It reminds me of the old Ken Shamrock. Well, I mean, obviously that's what they're trying to tap into storyline wise. But when he showed up at Impact, like I was just like, I don't know I knew who he was, but in my head, I didn't know who he was because he didn't remind me anything of who I watched, years ago. So, Rich Swann wins this match via roll up and everything. We talked about Rich Swann not, don't dance so much because you're the champion now. Clearly he's cut down on the dance. Like he comes out and he's a little more reserved. Like he's not all over the place like he was before. Like he's pulled back on it a little bit because he probably understands that he can't come out acting the fool too much. But what we want to talk about here is after the match, Eddie Edwards comes out to save him. And it's crazy because this Eddie and Sami Callihan feud is something that they can keep coming back to, and it's okay. Like it's not like if they were to keep coming back to
right.
I'm trying to think of a different feud off the top of my head.
Alicia versus Tennille.
Yeah. No, I want to see that. If they were to come back, most storylines, if they kept, so I'll take Sammy and Tessa when they just kept like finding their way back to each other. It was just like, oh my God, stop. But with this, I guess because it was all so organic, that's the difference. You can get away with it. I think they already had a tag match against each other, right? Swan and Eddie against. I feel like
maybe.
Okay, I feel like after Bound for Glory, the first episode, we might have got that. I could be wrong, but so you mentioned earlier the post editing that they're doing, or the editing that they're doing, I should say, and I thought this was a really nice touch.
Yeah.
To the normal babyface runs out and there's a brawl, and when they were able to tap back into the bat to the eye and to do it again, but to bust them open. I mean, I thought that was magic. That was great.
Yeah. I thought that was really well done. It's like you said, it's a callback to the history that they have here. The history that I was mad that they didn't call on when they decided to randomly put Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan in a main event world championship match during Eddie's, tragically short title run. And I thought this was like a good callback to their previous history, with the eye and everything. And then Eddie goes, "Do it, bitch!" And then he hits him. And again, somebody at home realized they can go cut, and then they just come back like, "Okay, Eddie, you don't have to cut yourself. We're just gonna put this blood on you. We're gonna stop the show, and then we're gonna pick it up with you holding your head like that." And it was just like, it was so well done. It was a breath of fresh air to me. Like, I liked seeing it. Obviously, I know the trick of it, but I thought it worked so well.
Right. We talked about television before and throwing cliffhangers at the end of shows. What's his name? Vince Russo used to say that a lot, on his podcast when he talking about the Attitude Era. He's like, I when you're watching a regular TV show and we can't wait for next week, like you hit him with a cliffhanger, and sometimes they would, like, who jumped Eddie Edwards when he was leaving the building? I mean, who the fuck cares? Like, they do so many of those random sneak attack storylines. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But this now, it's like, whoa, what are they gonna do with Eddie after this? Like, what?
Right.
I mean, what is the next step to this story? Like,
clearly the next step is more Eddie and Sami.
Right, which is fine because their feud was organic to begin with, so you can relive. You can go back to organic. It's kind of like the Kevin Owens. The hell is his name?
Sami Zayn.
They can obviously I don't watch that anymore, but I do see things come across my social media feed, and then I watched them in NXT when they were a thing, and I know when they teamed up later, like, you can go back to that as much as you want if it's done the right way. Because you know what I mean? So I'm very interested. This was a cliffhanger to where I'm like, whoa, how are they gonna? Obviously, they tapped into the eye injury thing, so where are they gonna take it from here? Like, it's exciting to they actually did that for once. Like, so I'm watching Arrow right now with my girlfriend. I've seen Arrow. I didn't see the last season, but I just didn't get around to it. But now we started it over so my girlfriend could watch it. And because it's been years, I don't necessarily know what's happening. And this episode we watched just now had this, not now, but last night had this like cliffhanger where I was like, dude, I don't know what happens. And it's like the first thing I'm going to do when I finish this podcast is probably go watch that episode because I really want to know what happens. So I'm excited. I just thought this episode in general just had a lot to, just like the Rohit and TJP thing. Like, how are they going to get this belt on TJP? And is anybody going to get revenge on Joe Doring?
I see TJP advertised for MLW, and I'm like, if that's happening, then he shouldn't be an Impact title holder.
Yeah, MLW and New Japan and the
right. That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right. That's more of those cross promotional relationships.
I think Josh actually mentioned TJP and Chris Bay were both in it this episode.
Yeah.
I think he threw that in there.
Yeah.
Which is funny. We're not getting Chris Bay wrestle at all. You think you would be trying? I think he's wrestling next week, but against Willie Mack maybe. But
well, he's trying to finesse Rich Swann into a title match right now. Yeah,
which is in their best interest because if they're going to do this New Japan thing, he should be in a high profile match. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I want to talk about. You got any closing remarks about the episode in general?
No, it was a good show. It was a good show. Like I said, the fresh faces and the fresh voice really breathed some new energy into the show. So it was nice. It was nice, refreshing episode.
Right, and then you mentioned before we start recording, we're getting Jazz next week, which they have
Right.
this. Did they announce that on this episode, right? We didn't talk about it, but
was it?
I think it was last week. No, because we didn't talk about it yet.
That's true. We didn't talk about it, so maybe it was this week.
Yeah.
Everything's flying by, man. Everything's flying by.
Yeah,
I think we did see it this week. No, last week Jordan made the phone call.
Okay.
Where she said, you sure you can do this for me? And this week we got to see Jazz next to Jordan, saying let's go after the tag titles.
Yeah,
that was this week where Jazz was the reveal.
Yeah, so they have this fixation with old aging talent from ECW, but I'm interested to see what she can do. I'm not.
Why not? Right? Why not?
Yeah, not totally writing it off. Before we wrap this thing up, do you got a couple, scrolling through the YouTube there, a couple of questions
Yes, so we gotta talk to some of the minions, some of the Cool Factor Nation. All right, so what we're gonna do here, we are gonna there's a lot of comments under last week's video. Thank you guys all so much for your comments. Keep the comments coming. Every week we're going to pick out a few and we're going to kind of, look at your comment and we're going to kind of respond. Now there were so many comments this week that I'm just going to randomly pick. So I'm just going to kind of randomly scroll through and BQ, say when to stop.
Okay.
All right. So I stopped on Country Girl. Hey BQ at the Cool Factor. All right, let's see. All right, so right above that one is Aaron Comer says Anthem is great at a balanced budget and not bleeding money, but it feels like they're too stretched thin to invest in marketing or merch team or to respond quickly to capitalize off of things. But if Anthem did it may ding their finances short term, but long term can increase their dough and viewership. So I think he was kind of responding to our conversation, how we talked about the company's ability to monetize certain stars. What do you think about that?
I'm a little lost with the comment.
I think this might actually be. Hold on. So I think he didn't really ask a question. He just was kind of commenting on what he thinks about why Anthem doesn't spend more money on his talent. All right, let's look for something up. Let's look for another one. Let's see here. Okay, now here's a comment. Here's a comment we can respond to. Sideblend 20 says, there's no reason to be a fan of anybody on the roster of Impact when you know they aren't going to be there that long. If the current roster is this weak and thin in 2020, just think how much weaker the roster in 2021 and beyond will be. All right, you take it first.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I had said to Lewis right before we started recording, so I sent him a message and I was talking about this because I was watching AEW Dark tonight. And I told him, we were having a conversation earlier where I said, Impact has to find a way to provide something different, not only for the audience, but for the potential talent. Like you have to provide an opportunity that you're not going to get elsewhere type of thing. And I was watching AEW Dark though, and I sent him a message. I said, dude, why would an up and coming talent want to sign to Impact unless the money was right? When you can wrestle on AEW Dark and get when someone's on Dark, they get a handful of matches. I mean, you see guys 6-7 matches. They're 0-7, but they're also getting scouted. There's a higher chance that they're going to get signed off a good performance on Dark than a good performance on Impact Plus or Explosion.
Right.
There's more people watch Dark on YouTube than watch the Impact product in the United States. I mean, YouTube is a worldwide, we're talking this as worldwide numbers compared to, television. But I mean, it's pretty safe to say more people are watching Dark than Impact. So it's a bigger platform. And, like I said, a guy like Brian Myers could come and say, okay, well, I can come here and stand out. But a young up and coming indie guy, if they're like, yo, we can get on Dark and possibly get signed, and there's this dude, Lee Johnson, he's 0-7, I think. Mm-hmm. They just added him to Cody Rhodes' Nightmare family. Like, he's part of that faction. And he's never won a single match. Like, they always find ways to find places for people, even if they're insignificant, they and him just having that little bit of tie to Cody Rhodes now kind of elevates him a little bit. So it's hard, man. It's hard to imagine that they're going to be a destination for some of these hot indie talents, because what platform are they going to give? And I don't mean platform, but as viewership, but are they going to get that focus and to where it's really worth it, or are they going to take their chance with AEW Dark? And because you do a few Dark episodes now, you can up your indie rate and everything. I mean, it's and they're paying these guys too to be extras in the crowd,
so I'm going to take kind of the opposite approach here. I think, again, look at last week I gave the example of Alley and of LAX. Like, there's for some people, most people just want to get our bills paid, right? But for some people want to be creatively fulfilled. And I think that if you are an indie talent, you're going to have a much better shot of getting in some sort of meaningful storyline if you work for Impact than you will if you work for AEW. Like you said, Lee Johnson was promoted to Cody Rhodes' Nightmare family. And I'm like, so? Like, who cares? Come on, man. Do you care about that? That's not in the top 5 acts on AEW. You know what I mean? Like, my God, let me see. Oh, my God. So let me see things on AEW that are more important than the Nightmare family. Let's see. Dark Order. Let's see. What else is more important than the Nightmare family? The Young Bucks, FTR, the whole tag division.
Yeah, true.
Sean Spears, like this being so. AEW, I think, is in danger of doing what WCW did, which is having a bloated roster, and you have so many people that nobody is going to care about them. Nobody possibly could care about them because all the focus is going to be on the Bucks and Kenny Omega and John Moxley. Like, that roster is so top heavy that being someone in the bottom, just being a random face in that crowd, literally a random face in that crowd, I don't know if that's better for your career. You know what I mean? I really don't know that it is. So, I mean, it all depends, again, like, knowing that check's going to be there, knowing that direct deposit is going to hit every week, like there's a lot to be said for that. And I can't say that I would turn it down, but I think you got a lot more chance. Like, Don Callis always says, hey, you come here, you get over. And I think that he's kind of right about that. Like, if you can get over on Impact, then once you leave, the world is yours. So you're going to be on Impact again. You're going to be learning how to do TV wrestling in a more controlled environment, a less scrutinized environment. And so I think that there's a lot of reason to be, if you're an indie talent, to want to work for Impact. Now, to the commenter's point, I totally understand saying, like, as a fan, feeling like you can't get attached to anybody, because it's like I've been saying, where's our guys, right? Where's the people that we can feel like are the Impact homegrown talent that we can argue with our wrestling fans who say, you watch Impact? Is there anything even good on there? You know what I mean? Like, where's the people we can put up and be like, look at this guy, he did this, then he did this, then he did this, and that, you know what I mean? And so they're not keeping talent long enough that we can say that about anybody. So, I totally understand if you don't want to get too attached. The constant revolving door at Impact is giving you commitment issues, and I understand. Okay, it's okay. We'll be your therapist here. Just keep tuning in every week.
I would say if you have a gimmick, Impact's a good place for you. There's another. I'm going to read this question here because it's just in the same. It's Clay or Impact. He said, "Do you think Impact needs an injection of young, talented indie talent to counterbalance all the ex-WWE guys? I look at AEW signing guys like MJF, Darby Allin, etc., etc. Why isn't Impact gone after this next crop of stars? The roster has talent, but it's a tad stale." So I'm reading that one because it's in the same, the same general ballpark. But I feel like if you're on the indie circuit and you have a gimmick, I think Impact is like really good for you. If your name is Bill Jones or Mark Smith, like you're probably better off in AEW or Ring of Honor because you can be very, very vanilla there and get over.
Yeah.
But with Impact, that's not really the case. Like, I mean, they had Caleb Conley for how long, and he didn't, before he had the gimmick with Trevor Lee, and he was just a dude. He was just a guy. Braxton Sutter was just a guy. Marche Rocket was just a guy. Like, they were just bringing guys they didn't, because they didn't really have gimmicks to work with. So, I think when you have a ready-made gimmick, no matter how big or small, I think Impact can work with that. They can't work with the, oh, you're a great wrestler. Let's see what we can, like Aiden Prince, he's a great wrestler. What's Impact going to do with him?
Right. No, I say this all the time about the knockouts, right? Like, Impact is not a show that's built around, come watch this great wrestling. You know what I mean? Impact is a show that's built around, we're going to give you storylines and action and emotion, and you're going to enjoy it. And then we're going to put some great wrestling in front of you. And, in some cases, it's annoying because I was like foaming at the mouth for some classic Taya versus Kylie Ray matches, and we never got those. You know what I mean? We just got character building stuff for Kylie Ray, right? Or story building stuff, for her. Whereas like with Deonna Purrazzo, right? If you're a talent who they want enough, and you're like, hey, my gimmick is I'm a good wrestler, then they'll let you do that. So listen, Impact does have a lot of it. I think if you are a talent, Impact is a great place to come build your strengths before you go get paid somewhere else. And like, it is what it is. We were talking about this last week. Like, as an Impact Wrestling fan, you have to accept that Impact is a stepping stone company. It is. You know what I mean? It's not a destination job. It's not. Because they're not going to pay you. They're not going to elevate you and pay you and promote you and make you a big star. Like, that's not what they do, man. Like, they're not taking their guys to go be on Regis and Kathy Lee. You know what I mean? Like, they're not promoting their guys like that. They're just not, man. They're not. They're, they got a fun TV show they're putting on. Come be a part of it and get your name big so somebody else can pay you.
I was listening to a Ricky Starks interview yesterday. I don't know who the hell was interviewing. It was Chris Van Vliet, actually. He was interviewing him.
I love Ricky Starks. He's, to me, sorry to interrupt, but to me, Ricky Starks, I think, is like the personification of pro wrestler. Like, I love his he has like this flamboyant nature, but then he could switch it and turn the tough guy, real quick, and then real quick back to flamboyant guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. I think he's to me, he's a big star.
Yeah, he said in he said in an interview though, Chris was trying to, I don't say goad him, but he was trying to nudge him to say something kind of good and positive about NWA, and he was just kind of like, he said, well, if the pandemic didn't happen, do you think you'd still be there? And he's like, I mean, probably, but that wasn't my timeline. When I signed there, I said, let me see what I can get out of these guys for a year, and then see if I've propelled myself to do something bigger after that. You know what I mean? And that's the most honest I've ever heard anyone to speak about. He was like, they weren't paying me anything. He's like, I wasn't making anything there. I was broke. I think the rumor had come out that he was making $1,000 a month, which, people roll their eyes out at, and there's probably people at Impact making the same. But, we talked about this before. For some people, it's a booking. There's some guys on a salary. Other guys are just on a booking. It doesn't mean Impact's not paying them well. They're just paying them their booking rate.
Right.
And if NWA was paying him $250 an appearance for their 6 days of taping, then that's $1,000 a month. So, but
That's a tough
he was the
rate,
only
bro.
person that.
When you think about that, like $250 per appearance, bro, that's not even enough to pay a hospital bill if you end up having to go to the hospital. I used to bounce in the clubs, and different places I work, I make different things. Some places you make like $75 a night, you make like 100, $125 a night. And I was having a conversation with one of the bouncers one night, and we were talking about this bar right around the corner where I used to work. This one night, these guys got stabbed up in there, and I was like, yo, man. I was like, yo, the money they're paying you, like, yo, you can't even get stitches with this money. And I was just like, yo, like, you know what I mean? It's just you at some point you gotta like reevaluate, you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? And so again, like you were talking about Ricky Starks, people always want to frame this like you're crapping on the organization if you say, I want to see what I can get out of this and then get something bigger. No, because when they're telling you, yo, we can only pay you $250 per booking, what they're also selling you is, hey, help make our show popular. We're going to help you increase your brand. What's the purpose of increasing your brand? So you can take it somewhere else and get paid. You know what I mean? So I don't blame anybody for doing that. Again, just like we were talking about, like with Impact, I don't blame anybody. Like, as much as we might like Ethan Page and like getting attached to him, and we could see him, splitting from Josh Alexander and having a feud, and them feuding over the world title, and that would be so cool because we watch these guys grow their careers together. But listen, if Impact's not willing to pay them, why waste those years? I remember when oh my God, the Dudleys, the Hardys, and the Wolves did Full Metal Mayhem at one of the casino shows for Impact. And I remember watching that thinking to myself, it's a damn shame they're putting their bodies through this and nobody's there to watch it. You know what I mean? And so again, it's all about what these guys are trying to get for their own career. And we should never hold that against them. You should never hold that against your favorite athlete. You know what I mean? Because those teams will cut you as soon as they're done with you. And so, yeah, I don't blame Ricky Starks or Ethan Page or anybody else. Get paid.
My gut is that they're going to lowball Ethan Page. And I'm to use a basketball reference. Kemba Walker had said, I don't want to leave Charlotte. I don't care about playing in a big market. I won't even sign for the max, like if it means improving this team. But then the Hornets came out and lowballed them. It was one offer. They made one offer that was so disrespectful to him that he was like, I'm out. I can see that with Ethan Page, because he had said, I'm interested to see what they think my value is, my worth. So he's got a number in his head. If they lowball him on that, he probably won't even negotiate. If he gets disrespected by it,
it wouldn't shock me. Somebody already put it in the news that AEW was interested. This is months ago. Yeah, months ago. I told you before when that Slammiversary promo came up and he mentioned the wrestling business is gonna pay up. I was like, oh God. And then I heard, maybe that same week I heard through the grapevine that AEW had interest in him. So listen, like, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. And that's their fault, man. That's their fault. I think that they're managing Impact as though they're on a shoestring budget. They may be, they may not be, you know what I mean? But I think we both agree that Anthem's not a broke company, you know what I mean? But that Callis and D'Amore are just choosing, they're trying to turn a profit. They're trying to turn a profit. Yeah. So it's like, yo, we got to figure out how to turn a profit with, 1,000 Impact Plus subscriptions and houses of 500 people. You know what I mean? Like, so if that means only paying the talent, so much, then, so be it, And so from a business standpoint, I don't blame them for that, but I just think that there's more, and this is similar to what the commenter was saying. I think there's more of a long-term future in making us love these stars. So now you're trying to, you're glorifying everything AJ Styles did, but like that was 2 eras ago. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Right? Like that, like we talked about like the different eras of Impact. There was like the Ascension era, you know, which I say the peak of TNA was 2013. I mean, I'll even give you a date. Bound for Glory 2013 was their biggest house they ever drew. AJ Styles, the homegrown guy, beat Bully Ray for the title, won it back, and you know, and it was honestly all downhill from there. But yeah, but then there's that middle era, right? Like the tumultuous getting the company away from Dixie era, and now we're in the Anthem era, which is slowly kind of coming back up. But yeah, so you know, trying to sell some of the greatness of AJ Styles, that's 2 eras ago, man. That's 2 eras ago. Like the company, the brand, the show has gone through significant changes since AJ Styles was around. And you're still pushing us on the greatness of AJ Styles. Like, use one of these stars who you're selling the opportunity to get over. You know, like, actually, why don't you get them over? You know what I mean? Why don't you get them over with us?
Create the next AJ, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right, let's do one more question. You want to pick it?
Yeah, because I got one in front of me. This is very simple. Colby F asked, who would you like to see return to Impact Wrestling for a world title run? I know we're talking about, you know, not living in the AJ shadow, but I mean.
Right. All right. So if I had to pick somebody that I'd like to see come back to Impact Wrestling for a world title run, let's see. I would say Mike Bennett.
That was my answer.
I would say Mike Bennett. I just thought there was so much potential. When Mike Bennett signed, I was waiting for Matt Taven to sign. And I wanted them to do the Kingdom in Impact. I thought it would have been so cool. You know, again, like I mentioned, I only watched Ring of Honor for the few weeks that they were the lead into Impact on Destination America. So, you know, I'm not like a Ring of Honor guy, but in the few weeks that I was watching it, I got to see the Kingdom, and I thought it was pretty cool. I thought they had a nice thing, and I loved the Mike and Maria act. You know what I mean? I thought it was really good, and so I think you know, Maria Kanellis, she's amazing. She's so good. You know what I mean? Like you know, she's a great talker. You know, the way that she adds to the match when Mike Bennett is in it. You know, she just, you know, I think it could be a great act. It could be a great world champion act. Like, you notice one thing WWE does when somebody wins the world title, they give them a goon. You know what I mean? Like, to me,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the indication that WWE plans to leave the title on you for a while, is they give you a goon. You know what I mean? A heater, as they call it. And yeah, I mean, she's his goon. You know what I mean? Maria is Mike Kanellis' goon. And so I think that you know, that could have been a really great act. If I could pick anybody to come back and get a run as world champion, I think it'd be Mike Bennett.
Yeah, so we got the same exact answer. So I wish I could throw something different at you. I think the easy answer is like we would like to see what James Storm could have done with a real, a world title run. I think everyone would have liked to see that. But yeah, I got to throw Mike Bennett in there too, man. I can't even think of a close second place personally, because the potential was just there to have a really fun world title run. Little bit of a cowardly heel, but he was a guy at the time that I was like, dude, I could see him breaking like Bobby Roode's record. Like I really, at the time, that iteration of the company, I was like, dude, I could see him holding that title for a really long time. And I thought he was an excellent signing for them. I didn't like when he kind of switched up his gimmick to the pineapple shirts and stuff. Like the first, when he came with the fedora and the suit, or he had a derby hat or something like that. Like that was like that character. I was like, dude, superstar, and they kind of, they kind of just put him in a thin jacket after that, and it kind of showed off his chicken legs, and he had the man bun, and it wasn't feeling like a star like that anymore. But yeah, dude, he was someone that I thought sky was the limit for. I actually watched he returned to Ring of Honor officially, and Matt Taven just interviewed. I was just watching it yesterday on YouTube on their channel. He has a interview show, because every company has original content on their YouTube except Impact. and he was interviewing Mike Bennett, and of course he didn't mention Impact at all, but he didn't mention WWE either. He was just like, I should have never left. He definitely bunched Impact into that group of like, I was out there doing this, I don't know what I was doing, wasn't being treated right. But he was the one I really would have liked to see come back, but that's definitely not going to happen. I'm trying to think if I can even have a close second place here, and I just can't think of a departure recently or in the last couple of years that I was just like, man, what a missed opportunity as far as being a champion. So
I think Eli Drake, I think that even though he was champion, like it wasn't done in a way that really gave him a chance to enhance his character. I felt like, you know what I mean? Like, again, there was a time when Impact had, EC3, Mike Bennett, Eli Drake, Bobby Lashley, Drew Galloway, like, that's the type of roster you could build around.
Yeah, those are,
but they just, they also were having, wars for the control of the company. And are we going to get this taping off or not? You know what I mean? And it sucks. You know what I mean? It sucks that those things all had to converge around the same time. So it is what it is. And I think that, Eli Drake's, like, I would take that 2016, 2017 core and just give him another shot. Because I think there was just so much potential there. There was so much potential there. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. James Storm is another one. Like, I'd give James Storm a shot right now. You know what I mean? I give him a shot right now and just let him run with it, because he can do so much. He can be a heel, he can be a baby face, he's really good. And again, why not? What the hell you got to lose? So that's another guy.
Yeah, I wish we could bust out a couple other different answers, but I think Bennett's a real clear answer there. So
but keep sending in your questions. We love getting the questions. Shout out when you put in your question. Let us know where you're from. You know what I mean? We'll give you a shout out. Whatever. If it's like Mike from California or John from Australia or whatever, you know what I mean? We'll add that to your shout out. But thank you guys so much for sending your questions. We love it. It's a big part of the show. We can clearly see that you like having your questions answered, because you keep sending more and more questions.
Yeah. So hopefully next week we'll do a little bit longer of a Q&A segment. Like, this episode just ran longer talking about the actual show, because I just thought there was a lot to talk about, and I didn't want to pigeonhole and say, okay, let's just pick a couple topics. There was a lot to get into. So hopefully next week we'll do a little bit more. Then maybe one episode we can just do straight up Q&A. Like, that would be that'd be cool.
Yeah,
be fun. So all right, so
it's the holiday. We probably should have did that today.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So we'll see what we can do with that soon. So but that'll do it for us tonight. I am BQ. He is TW. This is the Cool Factor Podcast. So thanks for listening. As always, we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Yes, sir.